In my box today, we got a lot of tomatoes, and since it's fall and not peak tomato season, they're not going to be as great just to slice on some bread or a sandwich. So I'm going to cook them, and I'm just going to make a little tomato soup. So for my tomato soup, I am going to use just 3 pantry ingredients that I think most people probably have on hand, and they're certainly very, very low cost items. So one thing is a quick can of tomato paste that I'm going to use from Aldi. And then we've got a little brown sugar, just a little bit of flour that's going to thicken our soup up. And at the end, because I have it, I'm gonna finish it with some heavy cream. It just gives it a little richness for the winter and a little warmth, but if you don't have it, eliminating it isn't a problem. I do have a few pantry items I'm gonna use. First thing we're gonna do is chop up an onion or 2. And that just gets cooked down with a little oil, any oil you have. I used canola oil in here. We want that dark part. It's really good. It's like the sugars in the onions cooking, nice and sweet, and that'll sweeten up our soup. Really not going to do much prep to these tomatoes at all. Just taking out the little stem part there, but otherwise they're in great shape. I'm adding in my pantry ingredients to my onions that are nice and soft and a little bit brown. And I'm going to take about a half a can of tomato paste. Since we don't know what's in our box every week, we're just going to play around with it. The tomato paste is really just cooked down concentrated tomatoes, so they have a lot of sweetness to them. The other thing I'm going to add is a little bit of flour. And that will give the soup a little bit of thickness, so it won't just be pureed tomatoes. And we're gonna let those 2 things cook for a couple minutes. I'm gonna turn this heat up. Because we wanna sweeten that tomato paste even more, and we wanna just cook the flour, literally, so it just gives the thickness we want. All right, so that's been in for about 5 minutes, and now we're just gonna add our tomatoes. You can see I just chopped them up, but I did try to get all of the pieces relatively the same size. That's just helpful, they all cook evenly. In they go. So those tomatoes are going in there. For now, I'm not gonna add any liquid at all because I just don't really know what these tomatoes are gonna do in terms of releasing liquid. So we're just gonna give them a couple minutes and we'll see what we see. Right, it's time to check on our tomatoes. Ooh, they look so good. I didn't throw off a lot of water, and that flour is doing what we want it to do, it's thickening our soup. So I am going to add a little water, because they look about done. First I'm going to add a pinch of brown sugar, because remember what I said about it not being peak tomato season? Well, let's help them out with a little sweetness. Brown sugar, white sugar works. I've even put a little honey in there before. Just a little something to sweeten it up. And I'm just going to add some water. Now it's looking a little more like soup. We'll give it a minute to come up to a boil, and then we'll puree it and be all done. All right, our soup's been cooking for a while now. It smells great in here. I'm gonna blend this up because I like a nice, smooth, creamy tomato soup. I'm gonna use what's called an immersion blender. It's just like a stick that goes in the pot. You can use anything that you have to blend. If you like a chunkier soup, you could just leave it as is. Okay, I'm really excited about this. Look at our soup. Before I take it out of the pot, I'm gonna taste it for salt and pepper. And then because I have it and because it's winter, I'm gonna use a little heavy cream. everything tastes good. It's a whole nother dish. Hey, I've got my bowl of tomato soup ready to go for my lunch. But yesterday I picked up school lunch and they gave us these great flatbreads with the chicken salad to use. And one of my kids didn't have the flatbread, so I had one left over. I thought I would just toast it up and put a little cheddar cheese on it. And then I have a yummy, big, giant crouton to go with my soup, and it really makes a meal. Yum, I am so excited.